Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Can I firstly thank all the deputies for their input this afternoon. Thank you for taking the time for coming and speaking to us. Actually, this is a good deputation. I actually welcome what she actually put through there in terms of community engagement. Because what has been lacking for the last 18 months is exactly that, community engagement. I have tried as a ward councillor to build some bridges between all the parties, and it's been proved absolutely impossible. So what Mrs Wilkins has put forward this afternoon, I do welcome that, and I hope the officers can take that on board, because there needs to be some healing within that community, and I believe if that proposal is taken up, that is the start to bringing people together again. The development will always create passion, but I've never encountered such discord before from residents on a level unprecedented in all the years that I've been involved in community engagement. I defy anyone looking at the site today and then try to defend what has gone on. It is totally unacceptable. The attitude down there is one of blatant disregard to what they have agreed to in a maintenance plan submitted in support of this application. When I say that, we all deal with developers. We all deal with, and we deal through all the different issues of that, and they all put through papers, documents, maintenance plans, and whatever. Most of them actually take responsibility for that prior to planning and prior to the planning application going in, and running that responsibility through until we get into the building stage and what have you. The management plan for this site clearly states there will be no shrub clearance outside, but between October and February. That's the maintenance plan clearly states that. After February, everything stops. And what we've been seeing for the last 3 or 4 weeks, total devastation of that site. Bird nesting starts at the beginning of March. And they've got a pathetic site down there at the moment, if you look at the south side. You've got there's not a tree left, I don't think. 30-year-old trees disappeared. But what's worse than anything else, if you look down on the south side at Nolan, you get a pathetic sight of a few trees with bird nests in there, and those bird nests are totally exposed. I defy anyone to say that's good ecology, because it is not. And that's the problem that's always been for the last 18 months, is the ecology of that site and how it's been conducted. As I say, there's nothing prudent about willfully clearing land against your own management plan, and that is what's happened. They have cleared that land, and it's against what they proposed in their development plan. Okay, you could be argued that the plan hasn't been approved by this committee at the present moment. But as I say, good developers produce a development plan and they see it through, from stage 1 right through into the building comes up. This developer, or the people behind it, the last 3 weeks, especially yesterday, they had about 12 guys on that field, those fields, quickly destroying it. Unacceptable. So, should we trust a word of that management plan going forward? Why should we trust a word of that management plan? They've degraded it to a point which I personally have absolutely no confidence in whatsoever. If I had to stall those people behind this development for their communication skills, I'll give them a flat 0, quite frankly. It's been a pain in the neck, and from August 2016 right up until today. I know officers have had to deal with problems, as ward council I'm having to deal with it. It's just totally unacceptable. The site is presently designated as open space and countryside within our local plan, Part 2. It serves as a countryside buffer of real value, not only for residents, but for wildlife. The neighbouring landscape is not flat or uninteresting. However, I do recognise that developers must have read the officer's report, because to see it today, it is completely flat. Residents of Portchester do not consider the site boring or of no value. Once upon a time there were trees. But sadly, instead of being vertical, they are now horizontal. In fact, many of them are now chip bark. Totally unacceptable. I have to say, I've never come across a development where the developer erected a 6-foot wooden panel fencing at a cost of £40,000, we're told, scarring the local area for over a year now. Anybody who walks down there now, Wicker Path, it is a total mess, and it's created by that fence, which I personally, as a ward councillor, wanted removed. I didn't want it up there in the first place. And this council actually tried to discuss that with the developers. But once again, nothing. They wanted it their way, and that was the only way. The ecology has been a major issue. I've already said that the public have walked that site for over 30 years. 30 years the public have walked that site. There's been no fencing up until recently, no signs to keep out. It's been open to the public. And that is why the public know what's on there. And for people to say they don't, or they're not professional enough to understand the ecology on that site, then they don't understand the residents. I've walked that site personally myself and my dog for over 30 years through those paths. I know what's on there, and so do a lot of the residents. And to ignore those concerns has created the mayhem, I think, that we see today. I just want an example. In the summer, the site is actually alive with slowworm. Absolutely alive with it. I've been down the allotments, and a lady took me down the bottom of her garden, lifted up a little bit of that. It was full of slowworms, adults and juveniles. Last summer, I was down on the site. I was called down there again by residents. I went down there, walked around the paths, and there was a matting that the residents have left on the floor. Picked it up, and there it was. Underneath that mat was full of slowworms and juveniles. So when people say there is no juvenile slowworms down there, sorry, but they're wrong. They are there. I've seen them, I've witnessed it, and residents have witnessed it. What's the problem, I think, regarding ecology? And I'm open to, I'll just throw this in the mix really. The only course residents have is to, when the ecology report comes up, is to submit their concerns to FBC. However, the problem is that fair and planning relies on Hampshire County Council to interpret the data that makes up that report. Importantly, at no time do Hampshire actually get involved in undertaking independent field surveys of ecology data. They may visit the site, but generally speaking, the ecology report that is written actually determines the flow of decisions that has to be made. Even Natural England, we heard from the deputies about Natural England. Natural England will not visit that site. All they will do is desktop the report. So if there's errors within that report, it just simply flows on. seems to be no mechanism where the public can actually challenge ecology data, unless the company that's undertaking it is a CIE member or a professional body. Then they could probably got a redress to that body. But as I see it today, and the reason why we've got all this, all the problems that we've had over the last 18 months, because the residents have not had any real opportunity and course of direction to actually challenge the data. That's what's wrong, and that's what's missing. The second one I want to talk about is the western boundary. Now, since April of last year, the residents have been saying to Federal Council and to others that that hedge, the hedge that runs down there, is an old hedge. What they were met with, and is an example of why there was so much frustration, is no, it's not. Even the ecology report is indicating that it's a 30-year-old hedge. In fact, now we know it's far older than that. It's something like it could be, that hedge has been there for something like 200 years. Now, of course, through that period there's been regeneration of shrub, trees, etc. But the actual line of that hedgerow has been there probably 200 years. So, what the residents brought up last year as a issue, which was then dismissed, has turned out to be correct. And that's the problem. Every time the residents actually try and bring something up, it's dismissed. And I'll say, when I read that, and I've got it here actually, it's John Stokes. He's part of the director, he's director of the Tree Council. He talks to government ministers at the highest level of government, well respected, renowned expert, I suppose, in hedges and trees. And he clearly says it's an old hedge. So there's a difference between what the ecology report is saying, which is 30 years or so, and what we believe it to be. It could be something like 200 years. There's a difference of nearly 170 years there. Why is that?
Councillor, is this going to go on much longer? Because
Well, I just want to get my points over,
yeah,
Mr. Chair.
how many are there? There's
Yeah,
a load of
I'll just come
councillors
to
who
the
all
end of
want
it now.
to make remarks.
Just come to and do it now.
If I can help, Chairman, sorry Councillor, but at the moment this is a 13-minute deputation type of speech. Just a reminder that this is a debate opened by the Chairman, and it should be through the Chairman that you're addressing, and it should be matters that are put in front of you to consider for the decision that you need to make on the planning application, which I appreciate most of it is, but just a reminder, it's supposed to be part of a debate, not a deputation. Thank you.
Councillor Cunningham, I wish to be fair to you, but let some other members have something
Yes,
to say,
by all
and then
means,
you can
Mr.
come back at a later stage if you want to, but, you know, going on there. Right, other members. Councillor Blake.
Unfortunately, Chairman, I have great sympathy for all the points that have been made by the deputies today, and especially looking at the photographs and hearing Councillor Cunningham just now. I do suggest, colleague, that perhaps you might have lost your argument by going on too long. I'm sorry, I'm just saying that. However, Chairman, there are, I think, about 7 issues on our policies that we could use to refuse this application. There's only 2, I think, that are worthwhile considering. One is that we do need to get our extra houses built, and the only other one is, every time I look at it, I think it must be a bribe, and that is the 45% for affordables. But I can't support the application, and I will if you want it, or when you want it, various 7 points I've highlighted that I think are relevant.
Yes, Mrs. Hoffman.
Thank you, Chairman. I have two main concerns. One is the highway issue. I do think the entrance onto that site is going to be horrific. Yeah, and I can't understand why highways have not put forward any real, brought up any real issues, but I think if you, 49 houses with the number of cars that are going to go in and out, plus all the lorries for the building the site and all the rest of it, I think it's going to be a nightmare. The other one is the design. Quite happy for, if it gets passed, which eventually I'm sure it probably will be, to have houses on the western side and maybe central, but it's bungalow land around there. It doesn't fit in. So as far as I'm concerned, there should be a real mix, not just all solid houses. I don't think it fits in with the street scene. And I'm not going to support it.
Councillor Davis, then Councillor.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. The ecological points that Sean brought up, I obviously am very concerned about as well. But I think looking at it, the application, what we've really got to come to grips with, again, is DSP 40. And looking at the 5 elements on page 97, we're hard pressed, I think, to say which of those we don't accept, or which of them breaches the DSP 40. Looking at taking the adjacent, well related to existing urban settlement boundaries, I think the comment on page 98 that this location on the site of the urban edge of Portchester merits a strong and prominent planting scheme to help soften the development of surrounding landscaping. I'm not sure that really does that, but that may give us one way ahead. And then on page 99 we have the comment that on affordable housing, and then the SP 45. The proposal will not have any unacceptable environmental, immunity or traffic implications. We know obviously every house generates traffic, unfortunately. Perhaps not much traffic in the case of my house, but certainly traffic. But the County Council Highways view that we've had expressed before is that, okay, you've got X number of extra houses. That will mean an extra 5 minutes or whatever on your journey time. Is that a time that justifies rejecting a planning application? And they will say it's not. So I think we can do something here, particularly in the landscaping. I take the point that I think Roger made, or Sue, that perhaps it's a sharp move from bungalows to houses, whether that also could be softened. But I'm afraid I have to tell residents that this is going to be developed. Whether this committee turns it down this evening, it goes to appeals, but it will be developed. And if you say there are too many houses built in Fairham, tell that to young teachers and young nurses who pay 29% tax, not 20%, they pay 29% tax and can't get on the housing ladder. And you know, if you've got children or grandchildren, they're in exactly the situation. So we can't say too many houses being built in Fairham. What we have to say is, are they being built in the right place? Are they sensitively designed? Are they integrated into the urban fabric? And I think with some modification, this scheme could be integrated into the urban fabric. Thank you.